Just will recap last session in 2 minutes. So what we discussed in last session, we discussed about what is the meaning of application, how the application can be managed, and the other point we discussed about instance. Third point discussed about calendar. Just we created calendar. As a part of calendar, we created period type. Okay. So before that, we discussed about users also we discussed. As a part of application, what we discussed, for any application or say for every application there will be menu. If you take example application name as GL, we'll have a GL menu. GL menu consists of functions. All the functions are organized by submenus. And if any user need access to any function, okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, so the application point of view, what we discussed, every application will have a menu. Within the menu will have a functions. The functions are organized by submenus, and if any user need access to specific functions or submenu or entire application, okay, how we can give the access with the concept called as responsibility. With the help of responsibility, we can just group functions or submenus or entire menu access we can provide to the user. After creating the responsibility by selecting the respective functions or submenu, we'll create the user. The responsibility will assign to the user. The same concept we have seen by accessing the instance. So we discussed about what is the meaning of instance. Instance is nothing but the environment, which with the software environment, whatever the products we install in the server, in the server, what are the products we install after taking the license from Oracle, that environment only we call as instance. The functional point of view, this is what we have to understand. When you talk about technically, that's totally different. Okay, but functional point of view, instance means the environment where we have our applications which is residing in the server. That's all. These are the points we have to understand. And when you talk about instance, generally you can have a fresh instance. Within the fresh instance, there won't be any sample data. For every fresh instance, there will be user credentials you can find as sysadmin. Password also by default it would be sysadmin. But now what are the instance we are using? That is kind of demo instance. For a demo purpose, Oracle created an instance called as Vision instance. The Vision instance, there will be sample data. The sample data is referring, always you can see the sample data refers Vision company. So within the Vision, there are many businesses they taken as example, operations, services, okay, many businesses they taken. So we have many users which are created by Oracle other than sysadmin. So out of that, we are going to use operations user till we go and create our own user. Okay, so that's what we discussed. So with the same operations user, we just yesterday in the last session we just access the system, and to that operations user, what are the responsibilities are already assigned, those also we gone through. And by using the general ledger responsibility, we created period type also. Okay, this is what we discussed in the last session. So fine, in today's session, okay, today's session what we'll do is see, say the primary target now is creating primary ledger. So just what we are trying to do is we are going to create the primary ledger. To create the primary ledger, we have to complete calendar creation, chart of accounts creation, and currency we have to set ready. I request you all to mute from your end. I can hear some noise. Vamsi. Vamsi, could you please mute your mic? Thank you. Okay, we have to get ready with the calendar, chart of accounts, currency, and accounting method, or you can call it as subledger accounting method. Okay, we have to set these 4 components ready. Fine. So when I talk about these 4 components, the calendar we have to create, chart of accounts we have to create, currency we don't need to create, just we have to enable. The accounting method, just directly we can use it, that's all. To create the primary ledger we need 4 components: calendar, chart of accounts, currency, accounting method. Out of 4, okay, calendar, chart of accounts we have to create, currency just we'll go and enable, and when you talk about accounting method, that is a seeded given by Oracle, just we'll go and use it. Okay, this is what we are going to do. Okay, let's do one by one. Calendar. When I talk about calendar, okay, when I talk about calendar here, to get ready with the calendar, first what we have to do is we have to create the period type. Create period type. Already we completed this period type definition in the last session. And after creating the period type, by using that period type, you have to create accounting calendar. Create accounting calendar. Okay, create accounting calendar. So fine. So this is all we have to do. Create period type and create accounting calendar. So we'll just log into the instance. Okay, we are using the user called as operations. Username is operations. Password is welcome. Click on login. Okay, just click on login. Now we are here as with the operations user login. So what are the responsibilities already assigned to this user? All you can see here. The last session also just we gone through these points. And how we created period type by using general ledger vision operations USA responsibility. Now we'll go to the same. Go to here, we have that responsibility, general ledger vision operations USA. You can just expand that responsibility, and once you expand we can see the okay, okay, fine, thank you, fine. So we have a responsibility, general ledger vision operations responsibility. Within that we have submenus. Now you can expand any one of the submenu, any submenu you can expand. Okay, with the help of any one of the function you can open the application in the form based, anything you can just, I'm just using the journals, expand journals submenu. Here we have a functions, click on any one of the function, and some plugin is required. Basically here just you may click on activate Java plugin, say always allow undo remember. Okay, it will just open the application, say allow pop-up for apps.oracle.com. Fine. So just we selected the function called as enter. The relevant function related forms are opened, those you can close it. Now this is our general ledger vision operations responsibility. Okay, through this responsibility we created period type. What is the navigation we used? Setup, financials, calendars, and types. By using this navigation, we created period type called as ERP tree. If you type the name directly, it will fetch. This is what we created. Okay, and just remember, year type is given as calendar. Okay, year type is given as a calendar. If you want to change the name, you can change it. ABC monthly. You may change it and save it. It works. Okay, fine, done. Now just we'll go with the now again I'll create with ERP tree monthly. I'll take 13 periods. Now I'm going to take year type as physical. So now the complete the classes what we'll be discussing and doing in the system will go with this case, as we are going to do the implementation for Indian client. I'm taking the year type as physical. I'll just say monthly, period type is monthly with 13 periods for India operations. Okay, for India operations. Okay, this is a period type we created. Okay, this you think this is a testing purpose we created. Now this is the one which we are creating for usage purpose. Just we'll go and use it further. Okay, done. Period type is ready. The next task is we have to create the accounting calendar. We have to create the accounting calendar. Just to create the accounting calendar, take the navigation. Just take the navigation. Hope everybody is taking all these points into notes. Okay, navigation is setup, financials. We should remember all these navigations. We should remember all these navigations. Setup, financials, calendars. So the navigation is setup, financials, calendars, accounting. So by using this navigation, we can create the accounting calendar. That's it. Okay, navigation is setup, financials, calendars, accounting. If you have any confusion, if you find any if you have any confusion to find out the exact navigation from here, so based on the function, this is a function name, based on the function which we selected. Okay, based on function which we selected, system will display the detailed navigation here. You can see here we selected financials, sorry, setup. From setup we just move to the submenu called as financials. From there we move to calendar submenu, and now we are here by selecting the accounting as a function name. Okay, this is the navigation to create the accounting calendar. Setup, financials, calendars, accounting. Please take all the points, otherwise when you are practicing it will be difficult for you. Okay, now double click. The accounting calendar creation form will be open. Now this is the accounting calendar creation form. Okay, my request here is, whatever we are trying to understand, whatever I'm going to speak, please focus on that only. Don't look for something else what you see in these forms. So there are many features, will come across all those when you are working on general ledger application. Now our target is just calendar creation. Okay, just don't look at some additional fields or additional information which I am not referring in this form, in this definition at this point of time. That's my request. Okay, okay, otherwise don't start thinking what is that, whatever I'm explaining, just try to understand. If you don't get, please ask me, but I'll make sure that I'll be covering everything whatever required. Fine, done. So now we have to give the calendar name. I'll say ERPTREE accounting. How many periods we are going to create? 13. I'm given the name as ERPTREE accounting, because this field will accept only limited characters to write the calendar name. That is the reason I am writing this name in short. ERPTREE ACC accounting 13. With 13 periods we are going to create the accounting calendar. The same I'll write here, description. It's not mandatory, you may write it. Accounting calendar with 13 periods for India. Okay, done. So now we given the calendar name and description. Now here you can see the title as periods. That means within our accounting calendar, how many periods we have, what is the period type based, all the information we have to specify. If you see here, if you just map with this title, this is a prefix, this is a type. So here you can say period prefix, periods type, periods year, the periods quarter number, periods from and to date, and periods name. That means the period prefix, period type, period year, period from date and to date, and period name, everything we have to write in this. Now we are going with example. We are doing the implementation for India client. When you are doing the implementation for India client, what is the financial year for India? So already just we discussed, it starts with the April, ends with the March, right? So our accounting calendar also we have to create same as financial year. Okay, so here I'm going with the period prefix. So what is the first period in our financial year? April. Our financial year starts with April, ends with the March. So in April, if you say prefix, what letters you can take? In April, prefix in initial letters means I can take in meaningful way and like short name APR. Just when you are writing the prefix and all, write in uppercase only. Don't go with this all small case, lowercase. Don't looks good, and that won't be the real practice which we'll use. Normally, always we prefer this is short name, so APR. Otherwise, sometimes you can write like APR also, but it's not recommended one. Writing like first letter capital and rest of two letters small. But I just suggest you and recommend you always to go with this since it's short name and prefix. So first period is April. So here we have to write prefix only. Fine, done. And here what is that? Period type. Just now we created period type. Okay, just now we created period type. What is the period type name? ERPTREE monthly. We created period type called as ERPTREE monthly. So here we have one icon. This basically this icon we call as, this option we call as LOV. We call it as LOV. LOV stands for list of values. Okay, so LOV, list of values. So please take all the points whatever we are discussing. It's not like just to understand, just keep in your note and read it and remember. Then when you go for interview or when you are working, then that will be very useful. Otherwise, if you are understanding and if you are able to practice in the system also, may not be enough. You have to get ready with everything. Okay, this we call as LOV. Now you can just click on this LOV. It will display all the period types whatever we created, because the field name is type. Which type? Period type. So these are the different period types which we created from period type form. Here what is our period type? This is the one, ERPTREE. ERPTREE monthly. You can select it. Okay, ERPTREE monthly. This is what you can select. Now year. When you talk about year, just remember what is the current financial year we are in. Okay, we are in which financial year? April 2016 to 31st. We are in current financial. Which is our current financial year? We are in 1st April 2016 to 31st March 2017. We fall into this financial year. Okay, of course in the maybe after 1 month we'll be jumping into the next financial year, right? But right now we are in this financial year. Now whatever the accounting calendar we are creating just for current financial year. Okay, we are going to record the transaction in this Feb and March. Okay, so this is our current financial year. When you are creating accounting calendar, what we have to do is, for which financial year you are creating the calendar, when the financial year is going to end, I mean to say the current financial year is going to end in which year? When it is going to end? It is started in 2016 and it is going to end in 2017 March. So the current financial year is going to end in which year? That year you have to take as a year. It's nothing but 2017, you can say reporting year. Okay, for our current financial year, 2017 means year ending. So that you can say financial year ending. So that you can say reporting year. That year you have to enter here. So here you can say 2017. So as per our accounting calendar, April is falls into first quarter, first period in our accounting calendar. Okay, so definitely that is a fall into first quarter. And what is the number for this period? This is the first period in our accounting calendar. When I say April, APR, and one more point, see here, automatically system is taking the name. We'll discuss on that, whether system is taking the name properly or not, that we'll discuss later. So how system is taking the name? It is taking the prefix, and from the reporting year, it is taking suffix. The prefix, and from here it is taking suffix, and automatically system is creating the period name. Now here what we have to understand is, we have to give the date for the period. What is the start date and end date for that period we have to give. Now we are discussing about, we are going to create this financial year. When you say this financial year, we are in first period. First period, when it starts and when it ends. The first period will start in 1st April, right? 1st April 2016. It ends with 30th April 2016. Okay, this would be period start and end date. I am not talking about year start date and end date. Period start date and end date. The same we have to provide here. So when we are providing this is the actual format as I written here. So actual format is 01 APR 2016. This is the actual format. You can write like that: 01 APR 2016. Tab out. So tab out. It will move to the next period. It's accepted because this is a format available in the system. Okay, this is a format, general format, default format. Okay, based on client requirement, this can be changed also, but this would be the very generic format which client will be using. If they want to keep month first, date next, then finally year, or else year, month and date, any format, what are the preferable format by client, that can be set up in the system, that we can set up. Okay, so I entered and tab out, I can move to the next period. So this is very difficult for us to write every time 01 April 2016. Again, if I am going to give this period end date 31st April APR 2016, it is very big task for us. For that reason, what you can do is, you don't need to enter this much detail level. If you give in short, it will convert into this respective format. Let's see that. I don't want to enter 01. I'll enter only 1. I don't want to keep hyphen also, directly I'll enter APR. I don't want to keep again hyphen and 2016. I'll enter just 16. If you give like that, system can understand and automatically will convert into actual format. So just I given 1 APR 16 and tab out, it will convert into the actual format. Okay, this is how system will convert. And now you can, the same way you can give the to date for this 30th APR 16 April, tab out. Now tell me, for this date range, do you think this period name is correct or not? Okay, for this date range, do you think this period name is correct? What do you say? Anyone? The period name is correct or wrong?
No, it's not correct. No.
Anyone?
No, it's not correct.
Why it is not correct? What is correct?
Actually, it should show 2016.
Exactly.
It is taking a prefix of.
Exactly. That is a point here. So when period starts in 2016 1st April, ending in the 2016 30th April, the period name should be 2016. If this year is related to 2017, then this period name is correct. So we have to correct it, remember. Okay, system will take automatically based on that logic, but we have to change it. Now we have to correct the period name to April 2016. Now everything is fine. So this April 2016 starts with this date, ends with this date. That's all. Okay, done. Now the next period is May. Okay, next period is May. Now here, period type. How to select period type? You can click on LOV and you can select the period type. If you don't want to do all this clicking on LOV and going and selecting, directly you can type here ERPTREE. You don't need to type the full name. Give some partial name and tab out. It will fetch automatically. If the values existed in the, if the values available in the field, it will take automatically. Okay, instead of going to LOV and finding and selecting and saying okay, instead of doing all this exercise, what you can do, simply you can type, if you know the name ERPTREE, then tab out, it will default. And what is the year you have to select? Take 2017, because we have to make sure that we are selecting reporting year. When this current financial year is going to end, that year we have to take. So this May also going to be in which quarter? First quarter only. And May number is going to be second as per our accounting calendar. And when May starts and ends, first May 16 ends with 31st May 16. Change correct year name. That's all. I mean to say period name, exact name, by changing the year. Then go to next row, say June. And now I don't want to click on LOV, or else I don't want to type. I want to go with a very simple process. So here also we have to select the same period type. Here also we have to select the same period type. If I want to select the same period type, what I can do is I can use the shortcut called as Shift F5. Okay, Shift F5. If you use Shift F5, the above field data will be copied into current field. Now here 2017 I need here. So I don't want to enter 2017 and all. I don't want to enter. Simply what I can do is hold Shift, use F5. The above field, whatever the data we have, that will be copied to current field. And here again you don't need to go with the Shift F5. Simply you can type 1. This is the first quarter. And period number, here we have to give 3 for sure. So we are creating like this. Now my question is, what is the use of period type? Just we are selecting the period type into this accounting calendar definition, but what is the use of this period type? So just we'll see that what is the use. What we given in the period type, the period type creation time, we given the period name, and we given number of periods per year, we given 13, and we selected year type as a physical, right? So because of that, here within the period type we given the number periods per year, we given 13 only. If you are trying to, now we are going to create third period, of course third only, but just for testing purpose I am going to show you some how it works. Okay, say for example I want to create 14th period. Enter 14th, tab out, see the message, please enter a period number between 1 and 13. How system is giving this pop-up? Reason is within the period type. The period type is ERPTREE monthly. There we set the control. There we have a control. The period type, how many periods are you specified, those many periods only will be allowed in accounting calendar when you select that period type into that accounting calendar. This is the point we have to understand. That's how the period type will be useful within the accounting calendar. Just say okay. Anyway, This is going to be third period only. Then say 1st June 16, it ends with 30th June 16. The period name should be June 16. Go to next row, say July. Use shift F5. Simply it will be copied. The above field data will be copied into below field, means current field, wherever you place the cursor. Use shift F5. Here July will be part of second quarter, and fourth period. July will starts with 1st July 16, ends with 31st July 16. The period name should be July 16. August, shift F5 and shift F5. It's going to be second quarter and fifth period. 1st August 16 ends with 31st August 16, and the period name should be August 2016. Just use down arrow from your keyboard. We'll just move to the next row. September. Use shift, hold shift and F5. It will copy the above, or else you have to type or you have to go to LOV. It's a big task. So shift F5. And one more point, in a few laptops, that depending on the brand which you are using, okay, the key, the shortcut key would be function shift F5. By default, standard shortcut is shift F5. If it is not working, you try with hold function and shift and use F5. It will work. So this is falls into second quarter, and sixth period starts with 1st September 2016 and ends with 30th September 16, and the period name should be September 16. Use down arrow. October, shift F5. Shift F5, shift F5. So October will fall into third quarter. Seventh period starts with 1st October 16, ends with 31st October 2016. The period name should be October 2016. Go to next row. November, prefix we are giving. So shift F5. Again use shift F5 to copy. And third quarter, 8th period, 1st November 16, ends with 30th November 16, and name should be November 16. And December, and 3rd, 9th, 1st December 16, ends with 31st December 16 to 16. Next period. So when our current financial year ends? In 2017 March. So John, shift F5. Again copy, shift F5, and John will fall into fourth quarter and 10th period, and it starts 1st John 17, ends with 31st John 17. Now whatever the name system is taking, that is correct. Now you don't need to change it. Go to next row. Feb, shift F5 and shift F5, and fourth quarter, 11th period starts 1st Feb 17 ends with 28th Feb 17 and the period name is correct. Then March, shift F5, shift F5, and fourth quarter 12th period starts with 1st March 2017, ends with 31st March 17, and period name is correct. So we created 12 periods, so which are actual periods. But when we created our period type, within the period type we given the number of periods per year as 13 periods. That means we plan to create one additional period. The additional period only we call as adjusting period. The additional period only we call as adjusting period. Fine. Now go to next row. Use down arrow, you will move to the next row. So here, so when you are closing the books, you want to pass adjustment entries in separate period. That is the reason just you are going to use additional period called as adjusting period. So when we do the adjustments, year ending means March. In March only we do the adjustment. So I'll give the period name as March. March only. For what purpose? Adjustment. I'll write the short name as ADJ. Okay. Just since period type is mandatory, you should select the same. And here same you can take reporting year. The reality, this is not real period, right? Reality is not a real period, but just for adjustment, even it's not related to fourth period, since we are going to do the adjustments in fourth quarter. Okay, the same you have to take here. See, quarter is fourth, the period number is going to be 13, and here you can say, and one more point here, the company may choose the last period of date range, means for adjustment period also they can use 1st March to 31st March, or else they may choose specific date range, maybe last week of March. How they require, accordingly they can select it. Okay, I'm going to use the same 1st March 17, 31st March 17, the same date range, actual March date range only I am selecting here. Now if you try to save, what system will do is, system will identify 1st March 2016 to 31st March 2017, we have in these two records the same date range, we have in the same two records. That system will identify, and it says it should not be. When it can be, if the period is adjusting period, that can be. Here we written the name as March ADJ, because of this system cannot understand. System, whatever we are writing, that is just test for system point of view. We can read and we can understand. For our readability we are writing. For system understanding, what we have to do is, we have to specify this period is adjusting period within our calendar, accounting calendar. For that we have to enable the checkbox. What is the checkbox meaning? Here the title you can see, adjusting. Whatever the period you are creating, if the period is for adjusting purpose, it's mandatory, you have to enable it. If you don't enable, see what message you get. Try to save it, Control S, or else you can use this save icon. I'm just trying with the save Control S. See the message, what message saying? Only adjusting periods can overlap with another accounting period. System is saying, if period is adjusting, that can be duplicated. I mean, that can have a duplication of date ranges which are copied from other existing period. If the period is not adjusting period, there should not be, that should not overlap. Overlap means the same repetition. Copying, that should not be there. Why system is giving this message? We created this adjusting period, but we didn't enable. So what we have to do is, we have to enable it. We have to enable.
Yeah, I have one doubt.
Please.
Yeah, here we are giving dates are duplicated, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If we take adjustment period as 31st March 2000, 30th March 2017 to 31st March 2017.
You can take
it will we will get that error, same error.
31st to 31st. Do you have in March or not?
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Duplication. You can, that's what I said.
Okay.
You can take complete date range, or you can take one date or 1 week. Okay, that you have to take from existing only. From existing date range only you have to take. That's how you take. That's up to your practices. How you within how many days you want to do all the adjustments. That's all. It will even you may take 31st to 31st. From date you may take 31st March to 31st March. Still the message will come because you are not using the some new date. That is you are picking from the existing this range only 1 to 31st. Okay, done. Now we given. Now if I try to save it, system will accept. System will accept. Now here we have to understand one point. When you save this record, okay, let me talk about other points here. So as we know very well, in our office we'll have a manager. You may be manager here, okay, in your office, but in our offices we'll have a manager. What is the role of manager? What manager will do? The subordinates, what they are doing, the manager will be monitoring their work. The manager will be reviewing the work. If everything is fine, the manager may approve the work. That's how it works. And my question is every work need to be submitted to manager? No. For which sort of work manager has to review and approve, that kind of work only will be submitting to the manager. That means in office, what are the work we are doing, that has to be submitted to manager for review purpose or approval purpose. Then only that can be passed to the next stage, okay, in the process. So in the same way, like when you talk about manager, what managers you can have in your office? Maybe sales manager, some purchasing manager, and so and so managers. Okay, we'll have a different managers in our office. The manager job is reviewing and verifying and approving. This sort of work managers will be doing. The same way, however, we have managers in our office. In our system also we have one manager. The manager name is concurrent manager. Please make a note all the points. Just it's not, if you are taking these classes just to understand virtually, it won't work. Whatever I am writing and explaining here, that should be in your notebook, then only it will work what we are expecting. I'm telling this again and again, there is a strong reason, because if you don't do this, that it goes in different way. Okay, so however we have managers in the office, the same way in our system also we have one manager called as concurrent manager. What these managers will be doing, sales manager, purchasing manager, they look after the work. They'll be validating the work which work is done by the team members, okay, and they'll be approving. That means why manager is approving and validating? Manager knows everything. That is the expectation. Okay, manager knows better than the team members, so manager can look into that. Manager can identify that is right or wrong, and what need to be corrected, what should be done, all those. That is the reason manager is reviewing. In the same way, in the system we have a concurrent manager. What is the job of concurrent manager? As a user or as a consultant, whoever it may be. So if you are creating something in the system, whatever you create, that will be submitted to concurrent manager. Okay, whatever you do in the system, that work. Now we are creating the calendar. We created accounting calendar. Once you complete this definition, this will be submitted to concurrent manager. It will goes to the concurrent manager as a request. Okay, it will goes to the manager as a request. Once it goes to the manager, concurrent manager, what concurrent manager do is, what we are submitting, accounting calendar. I given August starts with the 1st August and ends with 31st August, and all I am entering, because as per my knowledge I am entering, but I may be wrong in terms of accounting calendar creation. I may give by mistake, okay, August 30th only. August starts with the 1st, August ends with 30th. I may write like that, but concurrent manager knows everything. Concurrent manager knows all the rules. Concurrent manager knows how the calendar should be defined, what for which period and which year, when it starts, when it ends, if there is some fluctuation like Feb and all. So all information known by concurrent manager. Whenever you create accounting calendar, submits the system, that goes to the concurrent manager. The concurrent manager will validate the accounting calendar or something else what you create. That we will be seeing in further classes. But now we are talking about accounting calendar. Now if you submit this accounting calendar to the concurrent manager validate it. Concurrent manager look into that all periods are taken or not as specified in the period type, and the period type is given 13, whether 13 are created or not. If created properly, we take in the date ranges or not, and anywhere, okay, any date is missing, I may take here 30th only, August 30th. Okay, that also concurrent manager look into that, and based on the request submission, concurrent manager will give the information saying that, so this is our what wrong in your accounting calendar. This is need to be corrected. That kind of message will be given by concurrent manager. That is the job of concurrent manager in the system. Okay, so whatever you do, that has to be submitted to concurrent manager. But I'm not saying everything need to be submitted to concurrent manager. Which creation or definition need to be submitted to concurrent manager, that only where some sort of validation is required in the system, that object definition only we have to submit to the concurrent manager. Okay, this is the point here to understand. Let's move on to this accounting calendar. Okay, we created accounting calendar and just save it. I saved it just now. After saving, what system is doing, so all fields are open but period type is freezed. Can you change the period type? No, but before saving you can save it. Okay, sorry, before saving you can update it. Okay, after saving you cannot update the accounting calendar. Just this is the point we have to understand. Fine, done. Now my request is, don't look into something else. What is this enable security? What is this checkbox and similar boxes? Okay, here also we have, and what is the tab of assign access? Don't look into those because we are not discussing. The reason is these are separate features. Enable security, assign access, these two are related to one feature. This is related to some other feature. This we call as DFFs, this we call as definition access set. That will discuss very detailed level when you are working at GL. Everything we are going to cover, you don't need to worry about it. Okay, because now if I start with that, it will be, this is not time to discuss those things. Now our target is understanding accounting calendar. Okay, done. I saved it. After saving, what we have to do is, here we enabled, okay, adjustment period also. Fine, you want to create accounting calendar for next financial year also. If you want to create the financial year, I mean accounting calendar for next financial year, what you have to do is, you no need to go and create one more accounting calendar. Just you have to add the periods within this accounting calendar. That's a very important point you should understand. So for every year we are not going to create a separate financial years, separate accounting calendars based on our financial years. So we'll create only one accounting calendar. Within the accounting calendar, we'll be adding the every year periods. So if you want to create one more, if you want to add next financial year periods within the calendar, how to do that? So go to down arrow, use down arrow, and next financial year when it starts always with April only. April period type is same. Shift F5, and for next financial year, what is next financial year? This is the current financial year. Sorry, this is the current financial year. Next financial year means 1st April 2017 to 31st March, March 2018. The next financial year, this is going to be our next financial year. Now when you are creating the accounting calendar, within the accounting calendar, when you are adding the periods for next financial year, that's what you have to consider. So for next financial year, reporting year is 2018. So here you have to enter 2018, and this is going to be which quarter in the next financial year? April would be first quarter. The period number you should not give 14. If you give 14, you'll get this error message. The next financial year, this is not going to be 14th period. The next financial year, it's going to be first period, and then the date range would be 1st April 17 to 30th April 17. The period name should be April 2017 only. So we go to next row and create like this. So this is how we have to create. Now I just use down arrow. System is open one record space. Here all fields are mandatory. Without entering any data in this field, I cannot close it. Okay, you want to save the changes it is asking. Okay, in this form it is just accepting. I'll say cancel. So any chance when you are creating something, if you open any new record space, okay, certain forms you cannot close it. The form cannot be closed. In that case, what we have to do is simply use F6. Use F6. The open record space will be closed. Okay, fine. And here you can see that just for testing purpose we added one more period for next financial year. Now we don't require this record also I want to remove, only April for the next year. So for that also you can use F6. Use F6. The selected record will get removed. That's all. It can be empty record or data record that will be removed. That's all. So now you can click on close. When you try to close, system will ask us, okay, do you want to, the system will ask us to submit this accounting calendar for validation to whom? Concurrent manager. Already we discussed. Now system we have a manager called as concurrent manager. Whenever you try to close this form, since we have some data unsaved, it should be submitted to concurrent manager. Same message system will be asking. See here, click on this close. Now system is asking, do you want to validate the currently displayed calendar or all your calendars? Okay, do you want to submit only this calendar or all? All means there may be calendars which are created in the system already. It will submit all, but we don't need to worry about all. Whatever we are creating, we have to submit, and we have to make sure that nothing wrong with our calendar. We have to make sure that we create it properly. So this is our target. Now system is asking what we say, current or all? Not all. We have to say current, only this calendar. Currently whatever you can see here, the same calendar you want to submit. Just click on current. Once you click on current, it will submit the request. It will generate one ID for the request, and you can go and see what is the status of our calendar. Now what I'm going to do is I'll click on current. It will generate one request. Directly I'm going to take you to the form where you can see the concurrent manager will be working for the validation. I'll take you directly. After showing that, I'll show you the navigation. First, I'm not going to show the navigation, because if I take you through the navigation, by the time the process will get completed. I want to show you the process as concurrent manager is working. Okay, fine. So click on current. The request is generated. Request ID is so and so. You don't need to remember. Say OK. Okay, now I'm going to that page where concurrent manager is working. See, this is the request ID which we have seen there. And what is the request name? Other calendar validation report. And what is the request status? Pending. That means concurrent manager is working on our accounting calendar. In the parameter you can see our accounting calendar name. This is the accounting calendar is under validation. ERPTREE ACC 13. This is the name we given for accounting calendar. Okay, so the concurrent manager will be validating on this. If you want to see the latest update on this, you can click on refresh data. If you click on refresh data, the status you can see. The calendar status is, request status is completed. Okay, the phase is completed and status is normal. If something wrong with this accounting calendar, the status you can see as a warning. Phase will be completed only. If anything wrong with your accounting calendar, you can see the status as a warning, because now we created properly. We didn't do any mistake. We didn't miss any date within the particular period, and we didn't overlap any date into another accounting period. These are all we didn't do. That is the reason it completed normal. Phase is completed, status is normal. Okay, no consultant will do mistakes when they are creating the accounting calendar. When we are learning, when we are practicing, we may do, But once you get ready to work as a consultant, think you are not going to do any mistake. If you are doing the mistake, we are not at all fit for the consulting job. It's just a generic thing. So that's what. Anyway, system will give the message here. So based on the message, once you see here warning, to know what is the warning, why system is giving, what you have to do is you have to click on view output. If you click on view output, it will show the report. So the report is calendar validation report. It will shows the information. So here see, the following periods have a date gap. That means, say in March you taken 1st March to 30th March. In that case, one day you are missing. That systems will be reporting here. But as of now, no date gap we have in our accounting calendar, properly we created. And here we have other section, the following periods overlapped means the dates are repeated. In our system there is nothing, we have one, but that is adjusting periods can overlap. That's what we have seen. In the same way, it will be giving the message. Here you can see the messages with what reason. Okay, with what reason. So the warning we are getting, you can see whether the following quarters are missing, a sequential order is missing, what exactly. By opening this output you can see. That's very simple. Submit, and you come to this request form and click on view output. You can see the what is wrong with our accounting calendar, but in the now nothing wrong, everything is fine, status also normal. Now the point is how we are coming to this request window. I'll show you that. Okay, what we did, how to find your accounting calendar. Click on find. This is the name we given, ERPTREE. This is the one. First time when you close, it will ask. Now if you are closing, it won't ask, it will accept. Now think you found something wrong as per the report. The report shows some date is missing. In that case, what we do, we'll open our accounting calendar and we'll go and correct it. Say you given earlier 30th only, now you are correcting to 31st. That's it. Then save it. After saving, you can close it. Now I did some change, right? I placed the cursor and all I did. That is the reason it is asking again to submit. How to go to that request page? See, simple. Just take the navigation view, go to view, click on requests, then click on find. Now here you can see, now again the same calendar is submitted to Concurrent Manager because we opened, I placed the cursor in that so and so field. So that's the reason system is understanding. Okay, seems to some update is happened against this calendar. Again, this should be submitted for Concurrent Manager for validation. For that purpose, system is submitting. You may click on refresh data so that the request will be submitted as soon as possible. That means if you click on refresh data, the Concurrent Manager will speed up the validation process. That means you are hitting the Concurrent Manager. We know in office when you submit something, say you spend some expense and you submitted the expense bill and it goes to your manager, say your manager is not approved, what you will do, you'll go under, you may not hit and all, we'll just again will speak to the manager, will shoot some mail, right? By seeing that, your manager will take further action. Otherwise, if you submit and you are just not reminding and all, it may take some time in some cases, right? The same way here, we are submitting request to manager. If you leave it idle, it may take some more time. If you hit the Concurrent Manager by clicking on this tab, refresh data means one way you are hitting the Concurrent Manager means you are just asking you are just kind of your it's kind of some request goes to the Concurrent Manager to speed up the process. That's it. The priority system will take more priority to complete the request as soon as possible. Then that means it will complete it early compared to actual time. Okay, so that is a point here we have to understand. Okay, so we created period type. By using the period type, we created accounting calendar also. If you want to see the accounting calendar, whatever we created, the navigation is same. What is the navigation to see our accounting calendar? Setup, financials. You have to go to calendars and say typing. Accounting. Here you can go with the query mode and you can query, already we discussed. You can use F11 and you can give the right, we discussed, right? You can use F11, sorry, Okay, you can use, open the form and you can use F11. The form will be just in the query mode. You can write your accounting calendar name ERPTREE. If you want to write full name, you can write, or else you give percentage. Then execute the query. How to execute? Control F11. This will be displayed. This is one way. Other way is simple process. Go to find all accounting calendars which are created in this form. You can see, you can select whatever you created. Just say okay. That's all. Okay. So this is how just we have to create. So fine. So ERPTree.com accounting calendar 13 for India, done. So now again change we did here. That is the reason again it is asking us to submit the request. Again every time you no need to go to that request window. Anyway, system will submit and it will complete also. Just to click on fine. You can see if you hit on refresh, it will be completed immediate base. That's all. Okay. Any doubts on this, please? Any doubts on accounting calendar creation, please? Any questions on this definition? Anyone? Okay.
Lakshman, this is Sayyed. Lakshman, this is Sayyed. So, what is the purpose of the concurrent manager? It is a kind of validation.
That's all.
Okay.
Fine.
So every process we need to submit the concurrent manager.
That's
or generally, if we,
that's what I said. Everything is not required. Which is required, that we have to submit.
Okay.
Fine. See, anyone can ask question directly. No need to just refer your name. Okay, just straight away you can ask me the question. Any question? Anyone, please? Any questions?
One question is,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In general, you said like if you see the accounting, if you see the calendar or year type, there are two types. One is the fiscal, and second one is accounting. And you said fiscal is basically
No. I'm sorry. Not accounting. One is physical. Other one is calendar.
Yeah, fiscal. Yeah, the fiscal and
Calendar.
Yeah, calendar. So in calendar is basically you said like it is for moreover for US because
Not for
starting and
US.
ending is
See. It's not moreover for US. Which country is following their financial year as calendar year for that country? In our example, we taken as a US. Okay. The point you have to understand, which country financial year starts in one year and ends in the other year, that country will follow physical year type, and wherever the country financial year will be same as calendar year, that country will use year type as a calendar. That's all.
okay. And one more question on top of that.
Yeah.
There are some companies you can call it as though US financial year starts from January and ends in December, which is in the same year. But there are certain companies which they follow their own financial year. Just example, I work for my company, and the company follows October to September. October is falling in one year, and in the next year September it will be something like you can call it as the next year. So which are almost like starting and ending is different. In that case, what is the type they need to select?
You can answer for this question.
So calendar they need to choose?
No. Physical, right? You are saying it starts with October.
Okay, but the country is following, but the country financial year is different, right? Like they are following in the same year.
Then why they are following? See, you might be referring internal purpose they are using, but real business transaction purpose, okay, the reporting aspects, the government and all, but this is what need to be followed. Okay, that can be some different purpose. Definitely you may recheck with your company what they are doing, how they are doing. So if you refer US, this is what they have to follow, the calendar year, because when they'll report in the December, not in the something you said, how they defined and all. When the country will report to the government, tell me, when they are closing the books. I think Nagaraj is asking this. When they are going to close their books? In December, right?
Yeah, in December. Yeah, in December. Yes.
They should do in that way. For other purposes, from internal or manager or some other purposes, they can have a different calendars. That's how they can manage the data and they can do the reporting. Okay, you might have come across that point. Okay, you can go and cross check with them and you can come back to me if you need further clarification.
Sure. Okay. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. Yeah.
fine, thank you. Okay, done. Any other questions?
Lakshman, one doubt, small doubt.
Please.
So, this period type is monthly, weekly, is right?
Yeah, anything, monthly or weekly or daily or quarterly, hourly, semi-month, anything. But always think the generic practice would be monthly only. Wherever you see any implementation, monthly. And some their reporting purpose and all, they can have other maybe quarterly. That's totally different. For that, you don't need to create accounting calendar also. For that, we have a solution through reporting. Yeah, tell me.
I'm thinking one question. Calendars are two types, right? Year type and period type.
Sorry. Calendars are?
Two calendar types. Year type and period type you said.
No. Within the calendar, when you are creating the calendar, we have to consider 2 points. Which year type you have to use, which period type you have to use. Once we decide on that, based on that decision, we'll create the period type. Within the period type, we'll include. I'm sorry to say this, just when I'm answering, you can mute, because otherwise I'm getting some noise that will be recorded here and others also can hear the same. Okay. So I explained, when we are going to create our accounting calendar, we have to consider 2 points. Which year type you have to use for this calendar and which period type you have to use for this accounting calendar. These 2 points you have to consider. How to finalize which year type you require based on the country financial year. Okay, and how to decide on which period type, how they are going to do the accounting. Okay, based on that, if you see any company, every month and they'll be closing the books, I mean to say periods as per system, and end of the year they'll be closing the books, right? So that is the reason, just there is a period type. When you are creating the period type, there itself you can include year type. By using the period type, you just now we created accounting calendar. The period type has a control on number of periods, how many you are going to create. Okay, so that's how it works. And other point is, when we are creating the period types here, set up financials, calendars, accounting. So when we were creating, if you select any period, I am giving the period name and a period type and this information. Automatically what system is doing, it is taking this prefix and from here it is taking suffix and it is creating the period name. Because why it is taking this period name automatically, why it is creating, because within this period type we have year type called as fiscal. If it's normal, it won't create. Okay, you have to add all this information. It won't take a period name and year. Okay, that you have to just enter. That is the logic. Just that's how it was. But that is not required for us that much detail. Simple point you can say here. It will have a control on number of periods. That's all. Okay. Fine. Any other questions?
Can you please write the navigation for create period type?
I already written in the last session. Okay, if this is the first session, or if the case is you missed out yesterday previous session, I'll be sharing the video. Already I shared today. All the just videos I shared in the mail today. You can go through it. If not, if you say you not yet received, I request you to drop an email. So I'll be sharing all the videos, because already we're done with
Okay.
that. We already be done with that. So again, if I'm going to show, it will become.
No. As you mentioned, set up financials, calendars, accounting. Can you please write about that same thing?
That we did yesterday, I'm saying. Please. So
Okay, fine.
yeah,
Thank you.
I'll write it, no problem.
Okay.
But the point what I'm trying to say is already done. That was there in the last session. Here, this is what you have to take.
Sure.
Types.
Thank you.
Yeah. Set up financials, calendars, types. Okay. See, I don't have any issue to write. It may be like just I have to consider all the guys who are attending. I can see here online around 50 members, 15, 1 5 I have, because for all those guys it may not be required point. That's what I'm concerned. Please don't mind. So again, there'll be again, see, before starting the session, I'm just going through the last session by taking 5 minutes minimum. Okay, so that is the reason again it will be repeating and repeating multiple times. So few people may not like it. That is the reason I don't want to repeat it, even it is required for someone. Okay, fine, done. So any other questions? Okay, good. So calendar we completed. Now this we can call as simply we completed accounting calendar. I am marking the status as done. Now we'll look into the chart of accounts a bit later. Now next component is currency. The next component is currency. What we have to do? So for which country you are going to create this primary ledger, or for which country you are going to do the implementation, that currency you have to enable. Okay, so all currencies are available in the system. So just we have to go and do enable. Now I'll take the point here. Here I'll say create calendar. Finally, just will create accounting. I written the same here. Now the next task is enable currency, or currencies. You can say simple reason is, even if you are doing the business in India, you may do some foreign currency transactions also. In that case, definitely if you are going to purchase or selling, if you are going to purchase something to US, or you are going to sell to some other country, when you do the purchases and sales with a different country, you have to record the transaction that respect to country currencies also. You may do the business in India, okay, but you may just have a suppliers and customers in other countries. In that scenario, you have to enable all the currencies, which currency is your local currency, as well as in which other currencies you do the transactions. All currencies you have to enable. Here let's take simple point as we are going to enable INR only. Other currencies we'll see later when you are working on the relevant concepts. Okay, I'll just take the task name as enable currency. Okay, it's a very simple task. Okay, to enable the currency, just take the navigation. When you're taking the navigation, just put like this. You may not write as a navigation, just NAV, and say setup currencies. Let me show here, it will be easy for you. Setup, first go to setup, then go to currencies. Please make a note, it's very important. Okay, very important. When you attend a classroom training, how just you will be taking the same practice you follow even you are attending online classes. Okay, that's very much important. If you ignore simple point, just it will be difficult for you. Okay, setup currencies, then double click on currencies. Here say define. Okay, navigation is setup currencies define. Okay, define. This is the navigation. By using this navigation, we can go and enable the currency. Say they given define. Define meaning is create. The reality you no need to create. But this function, define is one function here, right? So define will allow you to define to, I mean to say create. But think you are not at all going to create any currency. Okay, you are not at all going to create any currency in the system. Okay, when you work in the any company as a consultant. Fine. So double click. So this is a currency creation form. Already all currencies are created by Oracle. You no need to go and create anything. If you want to find your currency, which currency you require for your country, you know how to find it, right? Open the form, go to find, and type INR. IN, it is fetching. Or else we know other process how it works, right? Sorry. So keep the form in the query mode, means use F11 and type INR and use control F11. If any record is there in the database, which code is equal to INR, that record will be fetched. Control F11, the record is fetched. Okay, this is how you have to find. So you can see here code is INR, name is Indian rupee, description the same in the issuing territory. Precision means after how many precisions required. Say 1 rupee means 1.2 precisions, 00. Okay, so if you want to enable this currency, what we have to do is scroll little right. Here you can see one checkbox called as enabled checkbox. When you are working in real time, you don't see as enabled, it will be disabled because this is a demo instance. Okay, somebody enabled, that's what we have to understand. But when we are working in the fresh environment, so all currencies will be there, but no currency you will find as enabled. So this is how you can find. Normally we will be querying the currency. After querying, just scroll little right, then enable the checkbox and save it. Control S, or you can click on this save icon. That's all. Okay, this is how we have to do it. And if you want to see all currencies which are created in this form, what is a shortcut? Already we discussed in period type. So directly, instead of going and querying specific record, you can use Control F11 directly. Okay, you may directly open this form. From here also you can do directly, or else I'll show by opening like this. Okay, from here what you can do is use Control F11. It will display all the currencies which are created in this form. So these many currencies are there. Okay, and when we have a data in specific form, we have an option to export. But by exporting the currencies we cannot do anything, but to show you or to introduce that feature which is available in our application, I'm just talking about it. Say my requirement is I want to export all these into Excel. What I'll do? Nothing I'll do, just I'm taking as a requirement just for information as how the function will work. You can just place the cursor in the first record and you can go to here, you can just go to file and say export. This all currencies information will be exported into Excel. 100 records are identified. Say continue to fetch a few more records. Now system is exporting all these currencies into spreadsheet. So you can see all the information fetched. Currency codes, currency name, currency description, issuing territory, nothing but country, the symbol, wherever applicable the given symbol. You don't see here symbol, you can see here Canada, dollars, symbol, and other all the information which is there in this form. Okay, all fetched, including this label names. Okay, so this is how just you can export into spreadsheet. Okay, done. So that's all about currency. We have to understand which currency or how many currencies you require, all you have to enable. Okay, but definitely we have to reach minimum, we have to enable one currency, right? The reason, that is our local currency, or say call it as functional currency. We know the local currency only we call as functional currency, that already we discussed in the previous classes. So we have to enable our functional currency, nothing but local currency, for in which country, or say for which client you are doing the implementation. The client is operating the business in which country, that with the country currency you should enable. Okay, then here we are taking the case as we are going to implement for one of Indian client. So that is the reason just we enabled INR. So when you are practicing, we can understand that point. Everyone no need to enable it, right? Now in this instance I enable, you no need to enable. Okay, just one time setup. If one person is going to enable, that is applicable for everyone. Don't think everyone has to go and enable it. These currencies are entire instance level. Okay, entire instance level. The client might be doing the business in 100 countries. The 100 countries, there may be some foreign currency transaction. Think 100 countries are going to do the business with India. The 100 countries, they need INR. So one time if you enable, the same currency can be used by 100 countries. So that's how it works. We don't need to go and enable this currency country wise. For so and so country, this has to be enabled. So and so country, this should not be enabled. INR. It's not country specific or some your business specific. Entire instance level. Instance means complete environment. Okay, so that is the point we have to understand when you talk about the currency. If you have any questions on currency, please. Any questions on currency?
Sir, I have a question. How do we fix the exchange rate on this currency?
That is separate concept. We have relevant concepts when we are dealing. You can understand that. Okay, we have to set the rate, exchange rate between INR to USD or USD to INR or GBP to INR or GBP to USD. That we have a foreign currency transactions will be working in payables, receivables, and GL. When we are creating the invoice, we'll create the invoice in foreign currency also. We'll make the payment in foreign currency. At that time, the conversion should take place. So we can understand how to do that. I'll be showing that is there. Okay, we should. So now the just point is how to enable the currency. That's all. Okay, when you touch that concept,
Here,
I'll take you through. Yeah, please.
here in precision value and the decimal value is one and the same in currency, decision value?
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Yeah. So, any other questions on this? Okay, you may not have questions because this is just simple. Just we have to enable which currency is required. Done. And next component is, okay, so currency also we enabled, so I am marking it as, marking status as done. Fine. Now when you talk about accounting method, we no need to do anything with this as of now, but as per business requirement, any changes required, how to change also we are going to cover in our classes. But generally not required. Straight away what Oracle is giving, you can use it. We'll try with both. We'll use how Oracle is giving, and we'll use by changing something, by taking some on case study on simple requirement. We'll change and we'll use it. For now, you don't need to do anything. When you are creating the primary ledger along with the calendar, chart of accounts, and currency, we will select accounting method also. Okay, which accounting method we are going to select, that we will see at the time. We'll just we'll select the value, and remember that I'll be explaining and we'll be working accordingly. Okay, done. So now out of four we have to create 2. Okay, and this one we have to enable, and this we have to use. Just we will be selecting while we are getting primary ledger. The first one we completed, and currency already we enabled. Now only the pending task is chart of accounts creation. Okay, chart of accounts creation. So we discussed about what is chart of accounts. Already discussed that point. Okay, what we discussed. So we have an application called as general ledger. Within the general ledger, we have a feature called as accounting key flex field. The people who are preparing the last sessions, who are taking the notes and who are reading, they can easily catch these points. If you are just attending the classes, every class is new, every point is new. Okay, so how to create the chart of accounts? We have a general ledger application. Within the general ledger, we have accounting key flex field. Within the accounting key flex field, we can create the chart of accounts. That's what we discussed. Okay, and how to create the chart of accounts? First, we'll give the structure name. Okay, organization name, group name, that we are calling a structure name. Within that, we'll create the segments, and for each segment, we'll create the segment values. The structure, segment values, this all put together we call as chart of accounts. The chart of accounts can be created within the accounting key flex field. The accounting key flex field feature is part of general ledger application. This we discussed, I think, in the last or prior session. Okay, done. Now we'll talk about more on this chart of accounts. Not only that information, we have to understand a few more points to be very clear on this chart of accounts. Once we understand, then we'll get into the system. Okay, let's talk about chart of accounts more and more. Okay, fine. So I'll refer what we discussed, not very much detail level. What we discussed, we'll create the organization structure, nothing but company name, group name, organization structure, or else company structure is nothing but group name. Okay, so under that, what we'll do, we'll create the segments. Under segments, we'll have a segment values. Fine, done. So organization structure, segments, and segment values. So just let me open that. Where we discussed, I think third session we discussed. This is what we discussed. Yep. So this is what we discussed: organization structure, segments, and segment values. The group name we are calling as organization structure. The values related titles we are calling as segments, and the company's department names, account names we are calling as segment values. This is what we discussed. These and all these we call as chart of accounts. Structure, segments, and value sets we call as chart of accounts. This chart of accounts we can create by using the accounting flex field that is there within the general ledger application. Okay, these points we discussed. Okay, if the people, I mean the guys who can remember this, for them further sessions or today's session, it will be very easy. So that's very important. If you are running the session today, means the prior session information you should ready, then it will be easy. Otherwise we may understand, but we have to struggle and understand. Okay, that we know very well, but I'm just taking that point into consideration, that's all, nothing else. Okay, chart of accounts means we have to create the organized structure, segments, and segment values. This is what we discussed. So that means here, if you refer the screen, this information, segments we have, under segments we have a segment values. Since this is a spreadsheet, I can enter like this, but in the system, if you want to maintain the segment values under segments called as company segment, under company segment, if I want to maintain all the companies, the department segment I want to maintain all the departments, under account segment if I want to maintain account segment values, we cannot maintain in system. In system we will create the organized structure and we will create the segments. Under segments we'll create the we'll be maintaining the segment values, but you cannot maintain the segment values directly under segments. Under segment, that means this, under segments, if you want to maintain the segment values directly, you cannot maintain. The segment values you can maintain under segment with the help of value set. Remember this. Okay, with the help of value set only you can maintain the segments for any segment. I have a company, I will call it as this company segment. I want to enter these three companies in the system. In the system I will create the organized structure with this name, segments with these names, and I want to maintain all these other segment values under respective segments, but we cannot create the segment values. If you want to create the segment value, we have to create the value set. Now my requirement is for company segment, I want to create the company segment values. Before that, what I have to do is I have to create company value set. With the help of company value set, I can maintain company segment values. If I want to maintain department values for department segment, I have to create department value set. And for account segment, if I want to maintain the account segment values for account, I have to create account value set. So that is a point we have to understand here now. Just I'm adding this point. Okay, so because before, I mean in the initial level, if we discuss all those, it may be a bit confusion for you. That's the reason I didn't include. Okay, so simple point here is, so under segments, if you want to maintain the segment values, what we have to do is you require value set also. If you have three segments, how many value sets required? 3 value sets. That means what we do is, okay, that we'll discuss in the system, but it will be a bit confusion. Simple point, try to understand how the logic will work. I'll explain you later. Now the simple point is, this is a chart of accounts. Okay, this is a chart of accounts. How to create chart of accounts? Sorry. Okay, how to create the chart of accounts? We'll give the organization structure and we'll create the segments. For each segment, we'll create the value set. With the help of value set, we'll create and maintain the segment values for respective segment. How many segments you have, those many value sets you can create, and accordingly you can create the segment values. This will understand more and more detail level once you get into the application. As of now, just remember this. There are 4 points, and what is this and what are the segments you understand, and value set, what is the purpose? To maintain the values. To maintain the segment values, we require value set. With the help of value set only, you can maintain the segment values. Just remember this point. If you don't understand this, no issues. At least remember this terminology, that is enough. Okay, that let it be. We'll go to this point a bit later, and we'll talk about a few other points. My expectation is just I want to introduce the terminology and remember the same points by tomorrow's session. Okay, let's talk about it. So here the point is, just make a note. All the points you have to make a note. We have 2 type of qualifiers. Just make a note. We have 2 type of qualifiers. Okay, we have 2 type of qualifiers. Those qualifiers are flex field qualifiers. Please make a note. Flex field qualifiers and segment qualifiers. Okay, the simple point, don't get into that meaning and all, not required. We'll touch everything which is required. Just definitely I'll take you through, but not now. There is time, but this is a time to know at least what are there and what is the naming convention and all. Okay, we have 2 type of qualifiers. One is flex field qualifiers. The second one is segment qualifiers. Fine. Now the second point is, how many flex field qualifiers we have, how many segment qualifiers we have. So take the point. We have 6 flex field qualifiers and 5 segment qualifiers. Okay, don't start thinking why we have and what color, in which color we can find these. Not required. Just simple information. Here we have 2 points. 2 type of qualifiers. Those are flex field qualifiers and segment qualifiers. Other point is, how many flex field qualifiers? 6. How many segment qualifiers? 5. Let's see what are those 6 and 5. So let's see what are those 6 flex field qualifiers. Just make a note and remember those. So those 6 flex field qualifiers are, say, balancing segment flex field qualifier. Okay, the qualifier name is balancing segment flex field qualifier, and say natural account segment. I'll do one thing. Okay, just please make a note all these points. Okay, natural account segment flex field qualifier, cost center segment flex field qualifier, and say intercompany segment flex field qualifier, and secondary tracking segment flex field qualifier, and we have one more, management segment flex field qualifier. Please make a note. Okay, we have 6 flex field qualifiers. Those are balancing segment flex field qualifier, natural account segment flex field qualifier, cost center segment flex field qualifier, intercompany segment flex field qualifier, secondary tracking segment flex field qualifier, and management segment flex field qualifier. So when you talk about this, you don't need to read full form of these flex field qualifiers. If I ask you the question, how many flex field qualifiers we have, you may answer in this way. balancing, natural account, cost center, intercompany, secondary tracking, and management segment flexible qualifier. That's how you have to answer. You don't read full form of each and every qualifier name. So simply you can say balancing, natural account, cost center, intercompany, secondary tracking, and management segment flexible qualifiers we have. That's all. Okay. So why we have these 6 and what is the purpose will be understanding in the further classes. Okay, done. Out of 2 type of qualifiers, one is flexible qualifiers, those are 6, those 6 are these. Now other point is we have segment qualifiers. So how many we have? 5. Let's see what are those. Okay, we have 5 segment qualifiers. We'll see what are those 5 segment qualifiers. Okay, say okay, allow budgeting, let me say like allow posting, allow budgeting, okay, third party control account. Okay, please make a note all these points. Okay, and we have account type. Let me write here account type, that would be same sequence how you see in the system. Account type, third party control account, and reconcile. Okay, these are the names for segment qualifiers. Okay, so we have 5 segment qualifiers. Those are allow posting, allow budgeting, account type, third party control account, and reconcile. So just make a note. Fine. We have 6 flexible qualifiers and 5 segment qualifiers. The 6 flexible qualifiers are balancing, natural account, cost center, intercompany, secondary tracking, and management segment flexible qualifier. And when we talk about segment qualifiers are 5. Those are allow budget, allow posting, okay, allow budgeting, account type, third party control account, and reconcile. Okay, once we start working on relevant concepts and areas, we'll understand about this. For now, before we get into the chart of accounts, this information is very important to know at least what we have. Okay, done. So okay, so we have this 2 type of qualifiers, flexible and segment qualifiers. Those are 6 and these are 5 that we discussed. What are those, what purpose and all, we'll understand very soon. Now the other point is, as we discussed here, we take a simple example, 3 segments only: company, department, and account. Okay, just when you are creating the chart of accounts, within the chart of account we'll have structure, segments, and segment values. We added one more point as value set. To create values for any segment, value sets are required. Fine, done. So other point is, here we take a simple example, 3 segments: company segment, department segment, account segment. Okay, that means 3 segments we take an example, but when we are working in the system, we have to understand maximum how many segments we can create as a part of chart of accounts. Okay, so as a part of chart of accounts, how many segments we can create in the chart of accounts? In chart of accounts, we can create max 30 segments. Remember, just make a note. Max 30 segments we can create where? In COA, chart of accounts. In chart of accounts only we create segments, right? This is chart of accounts information here. These are the segment names. This is chart of account information. Within that only we have segments. Okay. In chart of accounts, or I'll say in chart of accounts, we can create max 30 segments. If you are creating the chart of accounts, maximum how many segments you can create? 30 segments only. And minimum, if you want to create the chart of accounts, minimum you should have 2 segments. This point also very important, make a note. Okay, max 30 segments, minimum 2 segments. Okay, max 30 segments, minimum 2 segments. Now what are those minimum 2 segments? Okay, those generally, I'm not saying 100%, maybe in 5 minutes you'll be understanding what exactly segments. So generally those 2 segments are, one is company, other one is account. Okay, when you create the chart of accounts, you can create max 30 segments, and to create the chart of accounts, minimum you should have 2. You cannot create the chart of accounts which you want to use with just 1 segment. Minimum 2 segments should be there. Ideally those 2 are these. Okay, so max 30 you can create, but minimum you should have 2 segments as a part of chart of accounts. Generally those 2 are company and account. Fine. Okay, hope you are clear on this point. So now other point here already discussed. Now one more point I want to give you here. So I'm not going to explain detail level, simple point I'm going to add. Where we use, or for what we use flex field qualifiers and segment qualifiers. The simple point here is the flex field qualifiers, take this point, flex field qualifiers always we assign to segments. The flex field qualifiers will assign to segments. What is the purpose of flex field qualifiers? I mean, to assign to the segments. When you are assigning, there will be other purpose. Okay, so the flex field qualifiers, what we have, those what we do, will assign to segments. And where we assign this segment qualifiers, the segment qualifiers always will assign to segment values. Remember these points. 2 type of qualifiers we have, those are flex field qualifiers and segment qualifiers. The flex field qualifiers are 6 and segment qualifiers are 5. The flex field qualifiers will assign to segments, and segment qualifiers will assign to segment values. Why we assign, what will happen if you assign, if you don't assign, what will happen, those will just come across later. Okay, now these are the simple points. Okay, fine. We have flex field qualifiers and segment qualifiers. Flex field qualifiers will assign to segments, and segment qualifiers we have to assign to segment values. Hope this point is clear. Now we are discussing, already discussed one point. When you are creating the chart of accounts, minimum 2 segments are mandatory, company and account. In the same way, how many flex field qualifiers we have? 6 we have. Out of 6. Okay. Another point, where we can find these flex field qualifiers and segment qualifiers, these flex field qualifiers and segment qualifiers you can find within the chart of accounts. Okay, because we are talking about only chart of accounts, so whatever we discuss, that will be related to chart of account only. So where we have flex field and segment qualifiers? Within the chart of accounts. Within the chart of accounts only we have the 6 flex field qualifiers and 5 segment qualifiers. So out of 6 flex field qualifiers, 2 flex field qualifiers are mandatory. Please make a note. Out of 6, how many flex field qualifiers are mandatory? 2. Those 2 are these 2. Okay. Out of 6 flex field qualifiers, out of 6 flex field qualifiers, 2 qualifiers are mandatory. Those are balancing segment flex field qualifier and natural account segment flex field qualifier. Okay. So what is the use of flex field qualifiers? Here just we have point. The flex field qualifiers will assign to segments. That means these 5 flex field qualifiers we have to assign to segments only. Out of 5, 2 as a mandatory we have to assign. Normally balancing segment flex field qualifier will assign to company. That's some other points also to understand, you'll be discussing, but for now this is the point you have to understand. So you may have multiple segments in our chart of accounts, but the balancing segment flex field qualifier Generally, let me talk about this basic point. Later we'll get into that detail. So balancing segment means you have a segment, say for example company, in your chart of accounts. Just let me take simple example. You have a company segment, and you have a department segment, and you have a account segment, and you have a project segment, and you have a product segment. You have a product segment, and you have a, say, location segment. So think you have a different segments like this. As a part of your chart of accounts, you have a, how many segments? Say 6 segments. But how many you can create? Max 30 you can create. Max 30 you can create, but minimum there should be 2. But I am taking here example. Say you have 6 segments. So now to which segment? Because these 6 we have to assign to segments only. But which segment you have to assign to, sorry, which qualifier you have to assign to which segment? Simple point. To which segment you have to assign the balance in segment flex field qualifier? It's very simple. Which segment level, okay, you want to control your business transactions. You want to control on what base, and what base you want to generate the reports. Normally, the transactions will maintain the security and control on company level only. You may call as company, or you may call as entity, or you can call as branch, or you can call as unit, or you can call as outlet, whatever you call, almost more or less similar. So generally will generate the reports, and you want to, you will be always, the business will have expectation of knowing the profitability and all company level only, not generally department or account. The primary requirement would be company level. That means what level you want to record the business transaction. Every business transaction will refer that is belongs to which company, or else just if you are going to give department, there is no meaning. That should belongs to so and so company, so and so entity. So that is reason. And which segment level you want to balance your business transaction, you want to maintain or you want to control your business related transactions, and what level you want to produce the reports, okay, for internal or external purpose, that segment you have to assign balance in segment flex field qualifier. That's it. So which segment you have to assign balance in segment flex field qualifier? Which segment level you want to balance, or you want to control, or you want to record the business transactions, and which segment level you want to do the reporting, that segment level only, okay, you have to create the reports. In the within the organization, highest level, as a with some power, legal point of view, or business point of view, and other business aspects, and report generation, always will treat as a company only, or you may name it as entity. Here I written company. When you are working in some project, the client may ask us to keep as entity. The entity is segment, or else this we may take as a branch. When you say branch, the branch wise only will be recording the transactions, the profitability will be generating. In that case, the balance in segment qualifier will assign to branch only. But generally we call it, just call it as company. Okay. So what here the point we have to understand is, out of 6 flex field qualifiers, the first point is flex field qualifiers will assign to segments. Okay, the same point I mentioned here. So out of 6, 2 flex field qualifiers are mandatory. What are those? Balancing and natural account. Remaining 4 are optional. We'll discuss on that. Some cases cost center also mandatory, that we'll discuss later. But for now the actual point is 2 are mandatory, those are balancing and natural account. To which segment to assign the balance in segment flex field qualifier? This balance in segment flex field qualifier we assign to company segment. And natural account segment flex field qualifier always we assign to account only. Natural account segment flex field qualifier always will assign to account. Sorry. Just will assign to account segment. That's it. Okay. So we discussed already, in chart of accounts there should be minimum 2 segments, generally company and account. And other side, within the chart of accounts, these 2 segments need to be assigned. The The two segments are balancing and natural account. Now the balancing segment you are assigning to which segment? Company. The natural account segment you are assigning to account. Now since you are assigning the balancing segment flex field qualifier to company segment, the company segment you can call as balancing segment. Because why? Qualifier is assigned. Simple point here. What is the meaning of qualifier, or else say qualification? Okay, the people may have a qualification as 10+2 or degree, say bachelor's or master's. Those are the qualification. The same way, if you find some people who are just done their bachelor degree, okay, we can call them as a bachelor degree holders. Okay, if you see somebody who did their masters and all, we can call them as the guys are just, you can call them as they're holding the master degrees. The same way, based on the qualification what the people has, we can call them with a particular specification. These all are bachelor degree holders and master degree holders. These are PhD candidates. This is how just we can call the people. In the same way, this qualifier name is balancing segment flex field qualifier. If you assign this balancing segment flex field qualifier to company, simply now company will become balancing segment. Okay, so this is the logic we have to understand. For account segment, which qualifier we are assigning? Natural account segment flex field qualifier. Since we are assigning the natural account segment flex field qualifier to account segment, now account, instead of calling one way you can call a segment name is account, in other way you can call it as natural account segment. Reason? Natural account qualifier is assigned. One way I can call the segment name as company. If you don't want to call as a company, what other name you can give? Which qualifier assigned, with that name also you can call. Now you may call company as a balancing segment. Simple point. If I assign balancing segment flex field qualifier to department, now department you can call as balancing segment. If I assign balancing segment to, say for example, project you can call it a segment as project, or else you can call as project segment as a balancing segment. So based on qualifier we are giving the name. That is the point you have to understand. But when you talk about natural account, we have to assign always natural account to account only. When you talk about company, okay, when you talk about balancing segment flex field qualifier, 99% for company only will assign. There could be business cases where they'll go with some different naming convention, entity or unit or branch or etc, etc, etc. Okay, that's how it works. So two segments are mandatory, we discussed. What are those two segments? Company and account. For company segment, which qualifier we assign? Balancing. So when you are assigning the balancing, the segment you can call as balancing segment, right? So now from now I don't want to call it as company. The segment name I want to call it as balancing segment. For account segment, which qualifier we assign? Natural account. Now I don't want to call it as account segment, I'll call it as natural account segment. Now I'm redefining this definition. Okay, the point. So maximum 30 segments we can create, but if you want to create any proper chart of accounts, minimum 2 are required. Those minimum 2 are company and account we discussed. Now you can change the naming convention. Instead of calling as company and account, simply you can call as balancing and natural account segments are mandatory. That's all. Okay, balancing segment and natural account segments, these two are mandatory. Which is a natural account? Always account is natural account. Account segment is a natural account. Which is the balancing segment? Generally company. That's all. So this is the final point you have to take here. This is what we have to understand. Max 30 we can create, minimum 2, but always Oracle recommends to use less number of segments. Oracle given as a future 30, but you don't see anywhere some client is using 30. So always Oracle recommends use less number of segments. If you use many segments, there will be many performance related issues in the system. But as a flexibility Oracle given, but always Oracle recommends use less. The general practices when you are working in the companies, you see 6, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. If somebody is using more than 10, that is not a right implementation. That's not a best solution also. That we'll discuss very detailed level once we get into that real-time approach, how we'll do and all that at the time we'll be discussing. Okay, Now these are the simple points you have to understand. If you are clear on this, the tomorrow session will be easy for you. If you are not clear, also not an issue. Read and remember this terminology. This will help you whatever we are going to do in the tomorrow session. Okay, just simple points. 2 type of qualifiers, what are those? 6 and 5, what are those? Flex field qualifiers will assign to segments. Segment qualifiers will assign to segment values. And max we can create 30 segments in our chart of accounts. Minimum 2 should be there. Those 2 are balancing and natural account. The balancing means, just remember, nothing but company segment. Natural account is nothing but account segment. So other naming convention, that's it. So any questions on these points, please? Here you don't need to think much on this. No need to think much on this. Just the terminology, the points you have to understand. We are not discussing what purpose, some logic, just simple points. Yeah, please. Somebody has questions.
I have a question. Suppose you said like there are 6 flex field qualifiers, and Oracle is allowing a maximum 30 segments.
Correct.
So if the company is implementing, just take an example like seven segments.
Yeah, company.
So the 7 segment.
I got your point. Listen, here I may have 10 segments. Okay. These 6 flex field qualifiers has a certain purpose. The purpose you can fulfill by using any one of the 6 segments, or else 2 segments I can assign to one. 2 flex field qualifiers I may assign to 1 segment also. Once we get into that concept, that you can understand. Okay.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you.
That depends on requirement. What purpose we are using, then you can understand. Okay, but generally, just that's how it works. Like I can assign 1 to 1 and 6, but general implementation you don't use all also. Very primarily, we use these 3. There is some intercompany transaction, then we'll use it. These 2 rarely we'll be using. What purpose and all anyway I'll be covering. Then you can take the decision whether that can be used for your client or not. Okay, that's it. Don't compare number of flex field qualifiers with the number of segments. Okay, that you will discuss on that. But just the simple point is 6 we have, and the segment. See, the point is, it's not mandatory to assign flex field qualifier to every segment. If you have to assign, there should be some purpose. To fulfill the purpose, there should be some relevant flex field qualifier. That's it. We have 6 only. If any requirement you have, if that can be catered by, the requirement can be catered by this any one of the flex field qualifier, then only we'll assign to the segments. Otherwise, no. Okay, we'll discuss more detail level.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Any other questions? Please, just again, I'm telling you have to really, if you want to be good at these classes and information and whatever the course you are doing, you have to read it. There is no shortcut. Please make a note. Now I have everything in this spreadsheet. I'm not going to share this spreadsheet to anyone. Okay, when you are attending the classes, you have to make a note. That's it. The same you have to replicate into your notebook. If you are not doing that, you are doing half of course or 25% course. That's all. You don't get any benefit out of this. Please make a note if somebody is not doing. Any questions on this?
Lakshman, one question.
Please.
Can we just now you said we can assign 2 qualifiers to one segment. Is it possible?
Sorry?
You said that 2 qualifiers can be assigned to 1 segment. Is it possible?
You can assign. You can assign to 1 also. But there should be purpose. We'll discuss why these are required, and really those need to be assigned to 1 or not. You can understand. Application point of yes, we have possibility. The 6 I can assign to 1. System supports. But when you understand what is the purpose of this 6, then you can understand whether you have to assign or not. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Even I had a question.
Please.
So basically, you said that the company and the account segments are basically mandatory, right?
Correct.
So can I assign the company that balancing segment qualifier to more than just company and more than that? Can I assign it to 2 or more?
Yeah, good question. Good question. Really good question. 1 qualifier you can assign to only 1 segment. That's the reason we are calling it 6. Otherwise, unlimited, you can say. Balancing I can apply to many. This will be supporting many segments. One qualifier you can assign to one segment only.
Okay, so basically the ones which are not mandatory, the other four, even those they have to be they can be only assigned once.
Yeah, I'm telling one qualifier to one segment only. I'm not specifying so and so qualifier to one segment.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. It's a very good question. Fine. Any other questions? Okay.
Lakshman, this is my first class, so I have while I was reviewing the previous session demos, I have a question. Is it okay to ask in this class?
Now you can ask me. Anyway, we're done with the class. Okay. So now you can ask me.
Okay. My question is like, if you see the responsibility, or you can see Oracle, we have submenus and functions.
Yes.
And based on in the real time, based on their role in the organization, certain menus or certain functions are basically assigned.
Yeah.
That can be right. So, Oracle has a provision to restrict at the function level, not at the submenu level?
Yes. Everything we have. We can do that. That's what I just take an example here. We have 50 functions, but we want to give access to the user only 5. You can do that. That's a possible.
Okay.
Very granular level also you can give the access.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We'll do that. I'll show you everything. I'll just show you how to create our own menus or submenus or specific functions, how to give the privileges to the user, how to create everything. We'll go through each and everything, which generally we do in real time projects. Any other questions? Okay, seems to no questions. Then we can wind up the session for today. Anyway, I'll be available for 5 more minutes in the meeting. Meantime, if you have any questions, you can raise. Okay. Then see you in tomorrow's session. Have a good night and good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Yeah. Thanks. Good night.
Hi, Lakshman. Yeah.
Yep. Hi.
Yeah, basically this was my first session today.
Okay.
So even I was aware that like you have already taken 4 sessions. So how are the sessions conducted? Like how many times a week?
Monday to Friday. Week.
Same time.
5 days.
7 to 9 o'clock.
7 to 9. Yes.
5 days.
2 hours.
And what is the total course duration?
120 hours around.
1 hours. Okay, so I do get the access to the instances and stuff, right? Like whatever, if I make the full payment, because basically this was more of a demo.
Yeah, you will get instance access. You'll get instance access. We'll give for 6 months. Still, if you require, we can extend it for a few more months. Not an issue.
Okay. Fine. So basically, no, I actually called the center, so I didn't make the payment. So basically, I'll be making it tomorrow, so that
that's these payment and all you can speak with the team and all. Basically, I just I am just
okay. I understand. Yeah. So basically, so I get the full access by tomorrow, right? If I just
definitely. See, we can give like if you want to go through that all videos, we can give access. That is not an issue. But instance, you will be getting maybe after completing the formalities.
Okay, I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. The session was really good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi sir, this is Vamshi.
Yeah.
Yeah, today is my first class.
Okay.
His previous person also asking this question only.
Yeah, please.
When I get the previous class, what is this class number?
It's a 5th session. I think it's not 4th, 5th session. Yes. I can see here. I don't remember.
Okay.
So
Okay.
fifth
How many
section.
get the previous sections?
So we'll be sharing all those videos. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you may just drop a email saying that you need previous session videos. I'll send you.
Okay.
I'll send you maybe within a
Actually,
couple
I
of
am
hours.
received. I think I am received in 4 sections.
Oh, okay, okay. You can just
Yesterday.
simply you can go
But
to it.
I don't know correctly what is the first one, what is the second one. I cannot find the.
No, we given in the sequence only. In the mail, the first one,
Okay.
the first link is first, second is second.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Fine, Vamsi. Fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Good night.
Yeah. Good night. So, any other questions?